What does it feel like to be the last of a people? To wake each day surrounded not by others but by silence, complete and unbroken? No footsteps. No voices. Just the wind, the surf, and memory. This is the story of Juana Maria, known to many as the Lone Woman of San Nicolas Island. Her life would unfold not in the presence of her community, but in their absence. And for 18 years she survived utterly alone on a barren island, facing the wild with nothing but her inherited knowledge, her willpower, and her connection to a vanished world. This tale is not simply about endurance. It is about identity loss, and what happens when a human soul must carry the weight of an entire culture, alone. Let's journey into her story. A story of silence, song, survival, and heartbreak. Before she was ever stranded, before history forgot her name, Juana Maria was part of a vibrant community. She was born into the Nicolino people, also known as the Galazat, who had lived for generations on San Nicolas Island, one of California's remote Channel Islands. Their way of life was deeply connected to the land and sea. They hunted, fished, sang, and lived in harmony with the rhythm of the island. San Nicolas was a harsh place, but for the Nicolino it was home. They had developed ways to endure the scarcity of fresh water, to harvest abalone and seal, and to live communally in a delicate balance with nature. Their traditions were passed down orally: songs, spiritual beliefs, survival knowledge. This was not a forgotten tribe, they were thriving. But in the early 1800s, everything changed. Foreign ships began to appear on the horizon. Russian and Aleut fur hunters, drawn by the rich supply of sea otters, began to raid the island. They clashed violently with the islanders, killing many and disrupting their way of life. Along with violence came disease, smallpox, measles, and other illnesses, brought from the mainland and spread rapidly among the tribe who had no immunity. The population shrank, families were shattered, and a culture began to unravel. In 1835, Franciscan missionaries intervened. Alarmed by the dwindling numbers, they organized the removal of the remaining Nicolinos to the California mainland. A Mexican schooner, Pío Nada, was dispatched to evacuate the survivors. During the boarding, confusion reigned. A storm was approaching. The crew was under pressure. Amid the chaos, one woman was left behind. Some accounts claim she returned to search for a lost child or family member. Others suggest she refused to leave, unwilling to abandon the only home she had ever known. But the truth? Lost to time. What is certain is this: the schooner departed. The storm rolled in. And when the winds had passed, Juana Maria stood alone, an entire civilization reduced to one soul. San Nicolas Island is isolated, windswept, and unforgiving. There are no forests. Fresh water is scarce. The ocean is often treacherous. For most, survival under such conditions would seem impossible. But Juana Maria endured. Her first task was shelter. Without tools, without assistance, she built huts from what the island offered: whale bones, driftwood, reeds. Ingenious and resourceful, she transformed debris into protection, structures that withstood harsh winds and rains. She needed clothing. Using seal hides, bird feathers, and woven plant fibers, she crafted garments suited for survival. Bone needles and sinews served as her sewing tools, her only companions in this solitary world. Food was a daily challenge. The ocean provided fish and shellfish, abalone, mussels, sea urchins. She hunted seabirds, trapped small animals, and scavenged for roots and edible plants. Fresh water was collected from rain or carefully preserved in natural basins. And yet, survival wasn't only physical. In silence, Juana Maria also fought against the emotional and psychological weight of isolation. The absence of language, of shared stories, of human touch. These were battles just as fierce as hunger or cold. But she found ways to endure. She sang songs of her people, of her past. Perhaps songs of longing or lullabies once sung to a child. She etched symbols into wood, created tools, kept spiritual rituals alive. These were not simply routines, they were acts of resistance. They were memory given form. She became the final voice of a culture that the world had forgotten. A keeper of language, belief, and heritage, spoken now only to the sea. 18 years passed. 18 winters. 18 lonely celebrations of sunrise and morning of sunset. And then in 1853, a ship appeared on the horizon. Captain George Nidever had heard stories, rumors of a wild woman living alone on San Nicolas Island. He set out with a small crew, skeptical but curious. Upon reaching the island, they searched the landscape and found signs of habitation. Footprints, worn paths, the remnants of cooking fires. On their final night, they saw her watching from behind a thicket. She stepped forward. Her clothing was feathered, her face calm but cautious. In her hands were roasted onions, a gift of peace. She greeted them not with fear but with song. Though no one understood her words, the melody was haunting and unforgettable. One crew member, a Native American man named Mallorin, memorized the tune. Later, the song would be translated as a message of readiness and joy. She boarded the ship without resistance. After nearly 2 decades alone, she was returning to civilization. But she was returning as a stranger to a world that no longer spoke her language. Juana Maria arrived in Santa Barbara, California. By then, her people were gone. Her language unspoken. No one could converse with her. She had no family, no community. And yet she smiled. She marveled at horses, creatures she had never seen before. She was fascinated by mirrors, by the feel of cloth, by the strange foods and smells. She stayed with the Nidover family, who treated her kindly. Visitors came to see her. Children watched in wonder. She smiled often and seemed pleased to be among people again. But her body, adapted to decades of island survival, could not adjust. The food she was offered, rich, foreign, unnatural to her, overwhelmed her system. Within weeks, she became ill, likely suffering from dysentery or another infection her body could not fight. Just 7 weeks after her return, Juana Maria died. Her gravestone reads a name not truly hers. Her true name, her Nicolino name, is lost to time. She was buried in the Santa Barbara Mission Cemetery, far from the island that had shaped her, far from the ancestors who once sang the same songs she carried through silence. Though she died in silence, her story did not. In 1960, author Scott Odell published Island of the Blue Dolphins, a fictionalized retelling of her life. The book became a classic, taught in schools around the world. It introduced millions to a story that might otherwise have vanished. Historians and archaeologists inspired by the tale began to dig deeper, both into the island and the records. Artifacts were found. Huts reconstructed. More details of her life came to light. Today, Juana Maria is remembered not just as a woman left behind, but as a symbol of extraordinary resilience. A survivor. A cultural torchbearer. A quiet hero who refused to let the past be forgotten. Her voice may have been silenced, but her story continues to speak. So what does it truly feel like to be alone for 18 years? To be the last living memory of a people? Juana Maria's story offers no simple answer, but it shows that within the human spirit lies a profound strength. A strength to endure, to remember, to sing even when no one is left to hear. Thank you for watching this in-depth look into the life of Juana Maria, the lone woman of San Nicolas Island. If her story moved you, if it made you think, if it reminded you of the importance of culture, memory, and resilience, share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video for more true stories that challenge, inspire, and haunt. Until next video, stay curious and stay strong.